It's an island foodscape takeover. If anybody asks, we call it permaculture. Planting seeds, we secure our family's future. What you give is what you got from the roots on up. What you give is what you got from the roots on up. What you give is what you got from the roots on up. Yeah.
Aloha, Erica with Hip Ag. Today we're making chowder and I have the guest chef to join me, Ipi Iona.
Thank you, Erica. My name is Chef Ipi Iona, born and raised here on the island. I have two restaurants here, Ipi's Hawaiian Barbecue, one in Waikoloa, one in Waimea. So plate lunch, if you guys have an opportunity, check us out. Today we're doing chowder. We're doing a little different chowder than normal. It's not gonna be your basic potato, your basic clam chowder. It's a little different. We're gonna be doing a taro and ulu chowder. One of the things you guys asked was for me to do something using local starches. So obviously these are two of our main local starches and something that we should be incorporating into people's diets more. These were brought over on the canoe. They're pivotal to how Hawaii was created and our culture. So it's, there's history getting put into this dish. Two products that are really show people what Hawaii, everybody that comes to Hawaii knows what this is, obviously. Yeah. Everyone that comes to Hawaii knows what taro is. Not as many people know what ulu is. Yeah. So maybe we can start changing that.
And ulu has the potential to create so much more abundance of food for us. One tree produces hundreds of pounds in 1 year.
It's great. And between these two things, the amount of nutrients that are in them is unreal. The fiber, I think taro, it's mostly about the fiber that helps a lot with your digestive system, magnesium. It's good for, it helps with your heart, vitamins, minerals. Ulu, same thing. Easy products to use, kind of intimidating, I guess, if you don't know about them. So we're going to show you guys how to use them today and how easy it can be. This is a potato. Yeah. This is a Hawaiian potato, or a Chinese potato, where it actually comes from. But we're going to be using it the same way we'd use a potato.
All right, awesome. Thank you for sharing, Ipi. And why don't we just get started and let me know what I can do to help.
All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start kind of prepping everything first. As you can see for TV land, I already cut and cooked some of the taro, but we're gonna show them how to do that first. Okay. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna peel our taro. Okay. One of the things with taro is you have to really cook it good. I mean, most people that have eaten raw taro or undercooked taro
itch.
Yeah, so it's something that you have to.
Oxalic acid.
Yes, there you go. I have a scientist with me. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna peel it. Then we're gonna chop it up just like a potato, and we'll show you what we do with that. I am gonna add bacon to this. So there's two ways you can do this dish. You can do it with meat or without meat. So today I'm doing it with bacon because it's bacon. And but you don't have to use bacon if you don't want. There are people that don't like bacon and don't eat bacon. My mom's a vegetarian. She doesn't eat bacon. So we don't talk sometimes, but I forgive her. No, this is a dish where you can do it with or without. So like I said, I'm adding bacon to this and I'm adding chicken broth. If you want to make this dish at home and you don't, it's super easy. Don't add the bacon and add vegetable broth. Great. It's, so I'm going to cut up the bacon. I'm just cutting up into chunks. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces here. And it doesn't matter, the size, however size you want to make it. We're just cutting it so it can it's going to add some fat, add some flavor. So I cut my bacon first. You got your taro peeling. I'm going to cut an onion. Because it's such a big onion, what I'm calling for this recipe is 1 cup. Okay. You don't have to be as precise with these measurements. If you want to use the whole onion, you can. I'm thinking maybe half. This is the big onion, so I'm thinking maybe half of this onion would do. This is kind of cutting skills 101, I guess. Okay. And you put your hand on top and you just cut slits into your onion. Don't cut your finger, please.
And you're not going all the way to the
Not
end.
all the way. It's better if the root's there. It almost helps a little, but if it's not, it's all right. Then we just go down.
Nice. Usually I use my hand to hold it together.
There you go.
But that looks safer.
Okay, so we have our onion.
And then we get our garlic. Always.
Okay. Now with garlic, I'm going to use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 garlic cloves, but I'm gonna put 1 more because these are small little garlic cloves. I'm Italian, so I like garlic. Yeah. One of the techniques that I do when I cut garlic, what I'll do is, you just smash it. You use the back side of your knife instead, and you kind of just give it a smash. Okay. So we have our onions cut, we have our bacon cut, garlic cut. I'm gonna show you how we would cut the taro. Also the corn. We use fresh corn here. On the Big Island, we have some amazing local corn, some of the sweetest, best corn. I think it's some of the best corn around. So that's what we're using here. If you don't have the ability to get the local corn, you could use frozen corn in this, but we're promoting local, so we want to make sure if you can get the local, you know. So I'm gonna cut one side off. You can already feel like when you peel a taro and stuff, it's kind of gets a little slimy and a little, you know, it can get sticky.
Slippery.
And yeah, exactly. So we're gonna cut one side off so that you can kind of make it, flat, so you don't cut your finger, so it's not dangerous. Then we're gonna cut chunks. Now I'm doing pretty big chunks. I would say like about 1.5 inches by 2 inches maybe. So I'm gonna use the whole taro. That's what I did here. This is one taro, and like I said, you can see these chunks that we're doing. I'm gonna just cut this one. We'll put it off to the side. So normally, like I said, I would have this cut and we would cook it into this dish, but for timing purposes, I pre-cooked it. You could also pre-cook it. I mean, this isn't, you could do it for this dish anyway. It'll cut down the cook time. I also have my ulu peeled and pre-cooked also.
That's gorgeous.
So when you normally would have ulu, you would want to rinse it first to get the sap, peel the ulu just like we did with the taro, then you're gonna cut it in half, and there's just a small seed that's usually in ulu. I got it like this because this is part of the ulu co-op that's here in Hawaii on the Big Island. So we've been using this a lot here, this ulu co-op. You get the ulu already par cooked, peeled, no seed. Like this is amazing. Like the things you can do with this is unreal. The convenience for like restaurant owners and stuff to be able to have the ulu like this and just be able to chop it up, throw it into chowders. You know, if there's somebody in your family that doesn't like ulu or doesn't, you know, you can do it on the side, just throw it in at the end. There's I love having it like
And
this. I think the co-op is great.
Ulu season, and sometimes if you know our tree's not going off at different times, you know, different trees go off at different times of the year, and so
this
to just
freezes
have
well.
it in the freezer,
Yep,
it's
freezes
ready
great.
to go.
Exactly. So same thing. We're gonna cut the ulu kind of in the same chunks as we would the taro. So now the ulu is, like I said, it's already cooked, so it's really soft. I'm gonna cut into nice big chunks so that when it cooks in there and you're eating it, you still get that texture. Ulu has a real special texture. It's not like a potato. It doesn't have the texture of a potato. It doesn't have the texture of a mushroom. I don't know what it is. It's like a hybrid, its own, you know, its own texture. I love it. So we're gonna put it into that. We're gonna cut up. I would say, again, I'm probably using maybe half a ulu or a whole ulu if you're doing it at home. I'm using one taro, one ulu. I'm kind of eyeballing the actual starches.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing when like you're making chowder with
Use
the
what you
potato.
got.
Yeah, you see how much you need. If you want more, you can add more. But I'm using one, and I would say probably using like one or maybe half of an ulu.
So we're gonna move over to the pan
we'll
and start sizzling.
We're going to start with our bacon first, so that we can kind of render out some of that fat.
Great.
If it was a non-stick pot or a pan, you could do it without oil and just get the fat. What we're gonna do is we're gonna try to make a roux. Not try, we are successfully gonna make a roux. It's a way to thicken up soups, chowders, anything like that. Gravies, you know, things of that nature. So what you need to make a roux is fat and flour. Obviously, bacon has a lot of fat in it, which is why I'm saying I'm gonna do it first, kind of render out that fat, get the bacon crispy. But it doesn't have enough fat for what we're trying to do. Whenever you make a roux, you wanna do equal parts of fat to flour. So you could use any type of fat. You could use butter, bacon grease, oil, milk, cream, you know, anything to make the actual roux. We're gonna use butter and flour to make it. So we're using equal parts. So I'm gonna be using 2 tablespoons and 2 tablespoons. So first we're gonna get our bacon rendered, get it crispy. You can see it's kind of, I just have it on medium-low heat. If you're a vegetarian or you're cooking this for a vegetarian and you don't have to add the bacon, just go straight with the onions. And instead of chicken broth, we use vegetable broth. But so we're rendering it out. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit. Okay, so now we have our bacon rendered, the fat rendered. Now we're gonna add our onions. Again, this is about 1 cup of onions. We used half a yellow onion. We're gonna saute our onions. You're just gonna saute them until they become translucent, kinda.
Nice.
We're not caramelizing them or anything. We're just kind of sauteing them. So once that sautés, I'm gonna add my garlic. Then I'm gonna add the roux.
Okay.
So we'll add some of this garlic. Whenever I add garlic, you always want to make sure you don't burn the garlic. Burnt garlic kind of adds this bitter taste. So as soon as you add your garlic, then you want to add your butter. I'm doing 2 tablespoons. One, two.
I like heaping.
There you go. And then we'll let that melt. And then once the butter melts, we'll add our flour and start making the actual roux. So you can see there we have all the butter melted. Everything's cooked. Now we're gonna add 2 tablespoons of flour.
Okay.
And like I said, whenever you do a roux, you always want to do equal parts of flour and fat. It's kind of coming together. You can see it's kind of starting to brown a little on the edges. Now we're gonna deglaze this whole thing and add our chicken broth. This is 3 cups of chicken broth.
I love all your chef terms. Deglaze.
There you go, yep.
Nice.
And then we're going to add our cream. So I have a cup of cream. And a cup of milk.
Nice.
So this is like enough for a family, obviously, a batch for family at home.
Yeah.
Usually I'm making batches for entire towns, so this is a small batch for me. But so,
I know, how big are your pots? Like this
oh,
big?
huge! Yeah, we'd be making I would be using a few gallons of milk, but
yeah.
So now once you get it into here, everything is kind of ready to go. We're gonna let it come up to a boil. As soon as it comes up to a boil, we'll bring it down to a simmer and we'll add the rest of our ingredients.
Sounds good.
And from here, we're gonna start adding our ingredients. So just like any soup, any stew, anything you make at this point, you're gonna add ingredients based on how long they take to cook. You would take your taro, put your taro in first, and you would take your raw ulu and put your ulu in with it. They take about the same time to cook. Maybe you could give them a few minutes apart, but for the most part, they take about the same amount of time. So you're gonna put in our taro.
Okay.
And this is, again, 1 taro. Okay.
Looks good. And then while you're doing that, I'm gonna just prep some parsley because I
Yeah,
always
go ahead
like
and
fresh herbs.
chop up some parsley. So once the taro's in there, we would let it cook until it's done, or until it's close to done, as well as our ulu. So this is about 1 ulu.
So how long are we gonna cook this for?
It's like a potato, you know. You're gonna cook it until it's soft.
It looks integrated into the broth.
Exactly, until you know, you can stick a knife in it, stick a fork in it if it sticks too easily, and if you can chew it, it's good.
You ever, like with the taro, do you like to test it and make sure there's no itch?
Yeah, you'll want to test it to make sure but if it's soft and if it's going for, you know, over 30 minutes or something, you won't have that itch. But we're gonna let this keep boiling a little while. You want it to have kind of a thick consistency. Taro have the taro be cooked, ulu be cooked, and once everything is kind of just there and everything is cooked, you can use a fork and pick up your taro, use a fork and pick up your ulu. Then you want to add the last bit of our ingredients. Okay. So that is going to be our corn. So this is our local corn. And I would say we're gonna add about maybe 1.5 cups, 2 cups of this.
It looks really good and fresh.
Yeah, it was just shock. It's really, our corn here is so amazing here on the Big Island. It's sweet, it's delicious. I serve the local corn in my restaurants all the time because I haven't found a corn that's better. Okay.
I'm gonna have to talk to my farm manager about that.
There you go. A little more. So yeah, and again, you know, when it comes to the ratios and stuff, like I said, I'm adding about 2 cups, but none of this has to be exact. The only real part of this that has to be exact is our roux and broth and stuff. Other than that, it's really kind of, it's everything is to taste, how much you want. If you want more corn, add more corn. If you want more taro, if you don't like taro, don't put the taro in. You know, cooking, it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be very simple.
And with whatever you got on hand.
Exactly.
That's the whole point of this cooking series, is that people can understand that it's versatility and using what you have, and it's no stress. Just having some key ingredients on hand in your kitchen, we have all these different options of things that we can create with them.
Okay, so you can see now, and we have our camera looking at it, where it's starting to thicken up a little bit.
Right.
Everything is coming together. The taro is cooked. The ulu is cooked. It's a little thick. Now we're gonna just season it, finish it up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to add the Tabasco. I would usually just do a couple little, you know, what are they called? Splashes?
Dashes?
Yeah, dashes. I think that's what they're called, dashes.
I like dashes.
That's a technical term. And then a couple dashes of Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah, that's the worst word.
Worcester.
Worcestershire worstest word.
Worcestershire sauce from the Shire. All right, so now we have that. Look, it's looking good. It's looking thick. See that? It's looking, got your corn in there. You got your taro in there.
Super good.
We offset all of the nutritional value of the taro with the cream and the butter and the fat, you know, so we can make sure it's not healthy.
It's a whole meal.
Yeah, exactly. It'll fill you up. The good thing about this too is that you can do you can use coconut milk, you can use vegetable broth, you can use almond milk. I mean, you don't have to do it, you know, you can substitute. So now we're going to add our parsley that you beautifully cut up for us.
Thank you.
And like I said, right at the end, we're going to add it just because we don't want it to turn brown or anything like that. Now we're just going to season it. And again, this is to taste. This is how much you think, you know, whatever you think. This is just salt and pepper. That's it. I think we're good. I think
we're all done.
Yeah, I think the chowder's looking good. We'll go ahead and plate it and we'll be good to go.
I really like the bacon edition. I think my kids would really be stoked if I brought home some bacon. So
look at this. This is something that's hearty. It's a full-on meal, you know. It can be adjusted to however you want. My mom's a vegetarian and I make this for her all the time, but I use vegetable broth instead. I won't add bacon to it.
I'm going to take a taro bite. What are you going to go for?
The corn. The corn's my favorite. That ulu's cooked perfectly too. You can see, you can tell it's cooked perfectly if your spoon can cut through it with no problem.
This is so good, Ippy. Thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me cook my chowder, and thank you for letting me talk about Ippy's Hawaiian Barbecue, located in Waimea, Waikoloa, 8854-147, open 7 days a week.
Awesome. I'll check it out next time in Waimea.
Thank you so much. And thank you for letting us talk about ulu and taro, two important starches to the islands, and something that hopefully with ulu we can get people to eat more of.